Hi, I'm Alex. I'm an associate solicitor at Clark & Son, specialising in employment law.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm HR manager at Clark & Son. Today we're going to be talking about probation periods. So something that often comes up for me is whether or not we should have probation periods at all and what are the benefits of them.
Yeah, so I mean, generally speaking, probationary periods are a really useful tool for employers, mainly because when you bring somebody in, the interview is only a really limited viewpoint on that person. They're going to be kind of putting their best face forward. The employer's going to be doing the same thing about their business, so a probationary period works for both parties really well. It's kind of an ongoing interview process, I guess. Depending on how long you do it, probationary periods are usually kind of between 3 and 6 months. Sometimes there's a break between the 3-month period if an employer wants to extend it. But they are a vital tool because it really does allow you to kind of understand how that person's going to adapt to the business, to the roles you give them, the responsibilities you give them. And then at the same time, they can see if they think they're a right fit for the business as well. In probationary periods, usually they have shorter notice periods as well, usually a week. Sometimes, depending on the role in which they're carrying out, you as an employer might want to have a longer notice period, albeit it will still probably be shorter than the notice period outside of the probationary period. But it's just, I think it's a really useful tool and something that all employers should really, have in their contracts and will seek the benefit of them.
Yeah. Something that I find quite frustrating in terms of managing those probation periods is that you often find that nothing happens during that 3 or 6 month period, and then you get to the end of that process and the manager might want to dismiss or end that probation. How can they be better utilised, do you think, to make sure that you actually use them properly?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I notice that a lot with my clients is people I don't think use the probationary periods properly or fully understand or kind of get how to manage them successfully. Really, a probationary period should be an ongoing process, ongoing support, check-ins as frequently as possible. That doesn't mean daily check-ins. That wouldn't necessarily be reasonable, but it would be sensible to have monthly sit-downs with that employee. Setting them some targets, seeing how they're coping. Checking in with them to see if you can do anything better as an employer to help them to adapt. And then it means that at the end of that probationary period, or at the end of the 3-month period when you're saying you're going to extend it, it's not a complete shock to that employee when you say, we don't think this has been working out, because then they'll be saying, well, hang on a minute, you've not told me at all, what's been going on. So it's difficult to utilise a probationary period if you have 0 check-ins, because then effectively it's just a period of time where nothing happens, and at the end of it you decide whether or not someone's going to pass their probation and stay on, or whether they're going to leave.
And not being afraid of those difficult conversations either, because again, when you get to the end of that probation period and it's not a surprise to them if something hasn't gone quite to plan. And it's the same from their side as well. They might want to raise something that's not going well from their point of view. They might not have been trained properly, so it should work both ways. The other question I had is, with the pending changes to the law that the Labour government might be bringing in, what might happen with probationary periods around that?
Yeah, sure. So it's still all up in the air. At the minute, there seems to be these rumours of the 9-month period, and some further commentary has come out around that. We're still not entirely sure how they're going to work in practice, but my kind of reading of it, my understanding of it, is once the 2-year rule goes away and everyone has that day one right to unfair dismissal, there's going to be the probation period, and we're yet to know whether the kind of process is to dismiss someone is going to be different in the probationary period, whether you can do a bit of a lighter touch dismissal, I don't know. But what's kind of obvious to me, and I think what's going to be key, is those probationary periods are going to become even more important, because if someone passes their probation period and you pass them really quickly, or you don't follow what we would expect to be kind of a reasonable probationary period, that person's going to be protected from unfair dismissal at day one. So if you just continue down the road of, we'll give them a probationary period, we won't really do anything, and then at the end of it we might tell them, this hasn't worked out, they're going to have an unfair dismissal claim, which as matters stand with the 2-year rule, it's not common that someone has a 2-year probationary period. So at the end of a probation period, if you don't follow it, whilst you need to be careful because you can still open yourselves up to breach of contract claims if you've got probationary periods in your contracts, or you've got a policy that you need to follow. So you're not kind of scot-free, but the risk of unfair dismissal is kind of fairly low to not at all. If you remove someone for failing their probationary period, they wouldn't necessarily have a claim for ordinary unfair dismissal. So
so making that process meaningful is going to be even more important.
Even more important. Yeah. So there's no reason to wait. You might as well start doing it now. Start to really put in place an in-depth probationary period. At the minute, you usually see you will be on probation for a period of time, and it's kind of a small part of a contract employment. But maybe having a more long form probationary policy in a staff handbook, it just means that when someone joins your business and you say you're subject to our probationary period and our probationary policy, they have a full understanding of what's expected. They'll have a full understanding of when those check-ins will be, what those check-ins will consist of, and hopefully they will then feel that they're able to raise any issues that they may have at the same time. But start now, because then when that law change comes in, it won't be scrambling at the last minute to try and get yourself ready for it. You'll be ready, and because it seems as though the main changes aren't really going to be coming until next year, and probably towards the end of next year. But have a year's practice of getting those probationary periods nailed down and ensuring your management really understand how those probationary periods work. You need to be consistent with them. There's no point if you have 10 teams and 4 of them do a really good job at probations and the other 6 don't, because as an employer you're then opening yourselves up to claims if probationary periods being dealt with differently. So again, the buzzword training is always important, and consistency, ensuring that everyone really knows how those probationary periods are meant to work in practice.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.